Support for Lab Out Loud is provided by the National Science Teachers Association. Find out more at nsta.org. You're listening to the Lab Out Loud podcast, Science for the Classroom and Beyond. Coming up in today's episode, we look at a resource that engages students in STEAM learning by using film.
So basically what I did with each film is we classified it by age group, so it's elementary, middle, high school, and then we correlated each of them with the standards. Then there's also a summary of, just what the film is, and there's some questions that teachers can use to deepen the conversation, and then some resources which correspond to those questions and might also take them further.
That's up next on Lab Out Loud, but first, I'm your co-host, Dale Basler.
And I'm Brian Bartel. Well, Dale, you've used videos in class before, haven't you?
I have.
So,
Absolutely.
All right, tell me about that. What do you look for in a video? Like when you show a video in class?
I'm always looking for me, I like to capture some science in popular culture.
Uh-huh.
So maybe shows that kids are watching, students are watching. Sometimes if there's just the perfect example. Or a lot of times what I'd like to do is analyze. Analyze a video, see something and be like, oh, that could be done for physics. Like right now, there is a Ford truck commercial that's been, not Ford, Chevy commercial that has been going around for a while now where the vehicles are on this platform and they have 4 cables. And then they're like, it won the award, da-da-da-da-da. And then this one gets pulled up and there's another car underneath it and then another car. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to do some force diagrams for all that because you could look the masses of power-ups. But I don't know if the video's faked or I'm assuming it is. Like, not CGI or at least fake cars or something like that. But to me, that would be like, if that was real, what would that look like? Or even if you can't like figure it out. It's just kind of it's better than some boring block problem with, block hanging from.
Did you ever use videos from like popular culture? Like even I remember using October Sky or some other science movies.
Speed was one of them.
You didn't watch the full thing though, right?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No. The only full movie I showed, and I only have done it a couple times in my teaching career and probably wouldn't do it again, was Contact. And that was for my AP physics students after the AP test.
After the exam?
Yeah, and then so we went into some, physics gone wild.
You got to teach the fun stuff once the
lessons
requirements are out of the way.
Yeah. So I've done that, but I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of full feature films in the classroom.
Well, and one thing that's shifted a lot more recently is that we can queue up scenes or even get segmented kind of videos a lot easier now because of digital technology or even services out there that do it for you. Obviously, YouTube is another piece there that serves up quite a lot of media content there that's a little bit more appropriate for a classroom setting in terms of time.
For sure.
Well, today, our guest is going to talk about something related to this. We get to talk to Sonia Epstein, and she is at Sloan Science and Film. And she's going to talk to us about some films that have actually been made specifically to teach concepts in science. They're fictional, so they're not documentaries, but they're talking about specific, people in science or concepts in science. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea this was out there, and I think this would be perfect for many science classrooms, and it's at many levels too, elementary, middle, and high school as well. So let's hear who she is and what she does.
I am the executive editor of Sloan Science and Film. Sloan Science and Film is an online publication run by the Museum of the Moving Image, which is based in Astoria, New York. The museum has a big screening program. They screen about 400 films a year, and they also have a great core exhibition of over 1,400 artifacts, which include Edison kinetoscopes and the original set, model from Blade Runner.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
You had me at Blade Runner.
I know. I love Blade Runner, too.
You like to throw that out there, don't you? That's like your hook.
Yeah, it's good to have a couple things. We've also got the figurines from Star Wars, so those are, attractive also. But
how much of your job is play and how much is work then?
We did actually just close an exhibition of video games from the 1950s,
Wow.
like arcade games. So that was actually an opportunity to go into the galleries and play.
And are you hiring? No, okay.
No, so I mostly write. I produce all the content for
Okay.
the Sloan Science and Film site. So we publish articles about 4 times a week, and those basically range from, they cover everything in the world of science and films. So I write about current movies. I talk to the linguist who consulted on the film Arrival as one recent example.
We just saw that. Dale and I just saw that, actually.
Oh, really? What
Yes.
did you think?
It was interesting. From a science perspective, it didn't go too. It didn't give away too much. Like sometimes they cross that boundary of this is completely, we couldn't go there kind of thing. But it made you think quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I think a lot of people look to The Martian as a recent example of something which is it's not that far from reality. Like it sort of took
Correct.
into account things which could be feasible. So it gets people
Yeah.
thinking in that way. I think Arrival's more in the science fiction for sure.
Well, anytime
genre,
that anytime you invoke alien, and I guess in that manner, you have to give a little. You have to do a little bit of that, of course.
yeah, it's a beautiful film, I thought. So it could be recent things. I talked to a computer scientist about Gattaca and how that film might be more relevant today than it was at the time that it was
Absolutely.
made. Yeah. There's some great examples of looking at, past films. And so I do interviews with filmmakers and with scientists. So I'm kind of playing to people who might be interested in science but not film, or people who might be interested in film and not science. There aren't that many people who are specifically interested in that intersection. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to build up.
Oh, wow. So where can we find those articles if we are interested in
Yeah,
looking
so
at that?
they're all online, just at scienceandfilm.org. Or if you go to the Museum of the Moving Images website, there's also a link from there. But I post them. We have a Facebook page, which is just at Science and Film. I post them there as well. And it's pretty easily accessible. So definitely anyone who's interested,
Okay,
I
so
would encourage.
yeah, what do you have any specific offerings that are geared towards education or teachers?
Yes, we do. So that was something that we've just been working on over the summer and came out with just a couple weeks ago. So in addition to publishing articles on the site, we also host a growing library of short films. There's about 48 of them up now, and those short films are all narrative films. So they're not documentary. They're story, about stories. And each of those films deals with some topic related to science, be it astronomy, ecology, biology, chemistry, any of those sort of general subject areas. And each of them were made in consultation with a science professor. So
Okay.
any science that's in them is accurate, though they're not really about like didactic information sharing.
Sure.
So you can stream all of them for free on the site, and I made a teacher's guide to go with them. Over the
I have
summer.
it in front of my hands. It's pretty
You
hefty.
have it?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I asked the question, are there any resources, when I know full well the answer. I just set that up that way. But no, I'm looking through it right now. It's it looks pretty decent. I'm intrigued to start watching some of these now.
Yeah, they're a whole range. So the average length is about 20 minutes, but the shortest is 7 minutes. The longest is about 33 minutes. And I think they're all pretty approachable or easily accessible in terms of the subject matter that they deal with. One of my favorite ones is called Paprika, and it's about
I
the
have it open
Hungarian.
right now. That's so
You have
that's
that
a
one?
coincidence.
Yeah.
I am. I'm looking at it right now. Well, partly because Dale and I work in an elementary schools, and so
Yeah.
I'm starting to think about is there elementary content? And of course, this one jumps out.
Yeah, so I mean, I know just something I really like about film are two things, like something like Paprika, where you don't think of vitamin C as something that can be reduced to a chemical level, like to
Sure.
think about actually like the atoms, but it's something that we think about even in terms of food and nutrition, like it could be used in that context. And then also, I think something that film does really well is to humanize scientists. So one thing that Paprika does is it's about this Hungarian scientist who won the Nobel Prize in the 1930s for isolating vitamin C. So, and you see him as a character, like he's a real person, and that's something. There's also a good one about Semmelweis, who was the person who sort of started germ theory. The germ theory of disease, I'm sure you know, like he basically discovered that hand washing was really important to stop the spread of disease. And nobody believed him at the time, and he was like totally shunned and sent back to Vienna from the hospital that he worked at, kind of in shame. But I think these portraits of scientists as people are something that could be interesting,
Absolutely,
for kids,
especially at a younger age.
Yeah, even thinking about career. I mean, obviously, elementary, middle, high school, the people are not thinking about their careers, nor should they be. But science is still less in the popular culture than professions like law or even doctors and stuff. So,
when they're put in popular media, they're often misrepresented that way.
Right. Yes, for sure. There's a good example of another film called Concrete. So basically what I did with each film is we classified it by age group. So it's elementary, middle, high school.
Sure.
And then we correlated each of them with the standards for 2016, which obviously will change a little bit next year. So we will update it. And so those are for New York State and national. And
they're aligned with the NGSS?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They are. So then there's also a summary of, just what the film is, and there's some questions that teachers can use or not to deepen the conversation, and then some resources which correspond to those questions and might also take them further. So,
okay, sure.
Yeah, there's another
I'm
elementary school one.
What's that one? Tell me, I'm looking through
it. It's called Concrete. It's sort of in the ecology, botany section.
Okay. You can keep talking. I'll find it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's a.
I have it printed. Oh, there it is. Yep.
Oh, you have it printed.
Sure.
Yeah. So you can basically the guide is accessible online, and it can be viewed just online. It could be downloaded as a PDF, or it could be printed. It's probably best used online because there are hyperlinks to take you directly to watch the film or see it. But there's all the URLs are in there to make it easy.
Yes, absolutely.
So Concrete it's a very sweet story. It's basically about a man who's a botanist living in an apartment by himself, kind of cultivating a garden of plants that he then tests various chemical formulas on to see how it affects their growth. And a girl who, lives next door gets interested in his work, and he teaches her how to plant a little garden in the concrete courtyard outside the house.
So this comes from 2000.
Yeah.
So how old are the videos what's the oldest video in the series here?
I think the oldest one, that's one of the oldest. I think 1998 might be the oldest one. All of these films, but then they go through 2016.
Sure. So you've been collecting them for some time now, and you're going to be doing more? Yes.
So there are more in the works. The archive began in 1998 because all of the films that are funded, all of the films that are on the guide are funded by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, which is a foundation to enhance public understanding of science, technology, and economics. And so they have a film program.
That's almost exactly as I hear it on NPR.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, they fund Radio Lab and Science Friday.
Yes, Radio Lab, absolutely. That's right here mostly.
That's the one.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have a film program in addition to a radio program where they give grants to graduate film programs at 6 graduate film institutes across the country. So that's where these films came from.
That was one of my questions, sure.
Yeah, so each film received a grant from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and that's how they got hooked up with a scientist, because the Sloan Foundation is obviously very invested in having science represented accurately, though told in a compelling way. So that was when the film program started. Hence, students have been making these films since the late 90s and are continuing to make them through today. So I actually just got a good one about a kid with a condition called anosmia, which is like the lack of a sense of smell, who wins a fight that takes place using fart bombs because of that very
I was about to say there could be some quite intriguing possibilities without having to smell some things.
Yeah, he totally saw it as a deficit, but in the playground he turned it around. So
nice.
Yeah, that's another.
Is that an elementary level one?
There soon.
Is that for
It
the
is,
elementary level?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
For
going to
the
be right up the
elementary level.
alley of that level.
Yeah. Oh, good. Cool. Yeah, so I'm super curious about how people will use this. I mean, yeah, as I said, we just released it. So if you ever watch any of these things, or if there's anyone listening who is, I'd love to hear any feedback.
Yeah, we'll definitely help put that out there. I like the length there too. You said around anywhere from around 7 minutes to around 33 is the longest there.
Yes.
Is there a decision for making the length that way, or?
Well, thinking about it for the classroom, I think it's
Yeah.
useful because you can build a class like a one session classroom activity
So
or
these were distinctly made to put into the classroom versus using popular movies and cinema in the classroom. This is actually here's something perfectly made for you instead.
no, it actually wasn't.
Okay, I got that wrong.
No, I spun it like that. I mean,
Oh, okay.
these were made by students as film projects,
Sure.
students who film students who didn't really know that much about science necessarily, but who were interested in telling these kind of stories, then made these films. And those students,
Okay.
have gone off into various careers within the film world, some of, or within the sciences. But as a museum and as a publication, having an archive of these films, we have a commitment to education. And so we looked at them, and it seemed, based on things like the length and the topics and that they've been vetted for accuracy, that these could be really interesting to put, to sort of think about in that framework. So it was a reverse engineering in a sense. And yeah, so the length, I think for film festivals, short films tend to be about 20 minutes. So I think that was really kind of the determining factor.
Well, and it's important to have that in mind for in the classroom as well, because we too often see some teachers trying to use full-length movies in the classroom, and that takes up a huge chunk of time. And I've done it myself. We used to watch Gattaca, but the discussion behind that was much more important than the actual viewing of the movie. And then later on, we would watch clips instead. And now that's much more of the culture with YouTube and everything else to have shorter clips and even shorter films as well. And I think that's an important acknowledgement, or being cognizant of that as a teacher in the classroom, that it's not just watching the video, it's everything else that goes behind that as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think these films are great because they can engage students in an idea, but you're not going to learn a lot from watching the film necessarily. I mean, that's not the point of them. So it really is a way to, just kind of get the conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely. Or follow up on a topic they've been studying or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Bring it to focus on it more historically with a film like Semmelweis. We have one about the history of aviation. So, it could help teachers think about, a unit that they're talking about with their class, maybe in a different way. Or, it's something to talk about. And
absolutely.
I think that having these films that are like full films, that they're not just clips, is kind of nice. I mean, the short film medium is really hard, I have to say.
Absolutely.
Like telling a story. Yeah.
Well, I was just working with a class today, and they're doing narratives, and it's brevity is important, and being able to have as much detail in as little words as possible is important, and that's an art. And the kids are like, "What? I just can't talk for 10 plus minutes on it." No. You have to have this is an art form. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's sort of the opposite of what you think when you're writing essays, and it's I don't know.
There's no word limit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like writing poetry. I mean, it's like less
absolutely.
is more.
Yeah. Have you thought about having this branch into like a secondary world? Like maybe now that we have more equipment and tools more readily available for, let's say, high school students to do some of this film, would you think about expanding that into the secondary realm for them to create these films?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, the site is mostly focused on publishing material. So not necessarily making material in and of itself. I'm certainly always looking for that sort of content that I can write about. So there is a good example actually at Brown University. There's a short film series called Creature Cast, which I know a bunch of film students actually made there, and that's something I've been thinking about covering. The museum itself has a good digital learning program where they bring in students to create, short films or animated films, and that's part of their teaching curriculum here at the museum. So I could see it possibly feeding into that. Yeah, and that's a good idea. I mean, maybe if people want some sort of guideline for how to make a film that I can include in this, or ideas for films about science, I'm sure there could be other ways. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm totally open to suggestions.
Okay, well, I haven't perused too much on the site, but are any of the clips downloadable, and can students re-edit them and remix them in any way?
Oh, that's interesting. No, they're not downloadable unless I change the permissions. So that would have to be on a case-by-case basis. Sure. Just because these are films that filmmakers made that are sort of their calling cards in a sense.
Oh, yes.
So not necessarily, but I am in contact with most of these filmmakers. So that's always something that if a classroom was interested in, I could approach these filmmakers, and they're very happy to have their films out there being shown and being used. So I wouldn't put that outside the realm of possibility for sure.
Sure.
But they're all streamable. We put them all in Vimeo, so I know that works well in classrooms. So yeah, they're all streamable. But yeah, that's a good idea.
Are there any other points or highlights that you want to make educators or science teachers aware of?
I would just say this is, I think it's a pretty accessible guide from what we can tell, but of course I'm definitely very interested in seeing how teachers use it. And if anybody gets interested in the broader field of science and technology as represented in film, then I would say to check on the website because we're publishing 4 times a week. We've got a lot of great interviews. I just did one with Graham Moore, who wrote the screenplay for The Imitation Game, which was about Alan Turing. And he has a new book about Edison and Westinghouse and the War of the Currents that is being made into a film. So I just got a note from a book club that they want to read that book and use it as a jumping off point. So that's probably less for the middle school, elementary, but possibly high school. Sure. There could be ideas for books or things to read. So
well, you definitely have possibilities there.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, fantastic.
Come to the museum if you're in New York.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for your time. This is really fascinating, and I always love having homework that is watching TV or film. So I'll dig into that over the next few days.
Me too. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking to you.
For links and other information related to this episode, visit laboutloud.com. You can send us your questions and comments at laboutloud.com/contact.
If you enjoyed the show, make sure you've subscribed on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting platform. And if you really enjoyed it, consider leaving us a rating or a review. Your feedback helps others find our show.
Until next time, I'm Dale Basler.
And I'm Brian Bartel.